Sports fans, I'm running an exclusive contest over on DraftKings, and there are only 50 slots available. We did this last month, and a lot of people won money. Heck, I got killed and still came away with some cash. I've got my team set up. You think you can beat me? I'm in. Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to BBallBreakdown. I'm very pleased to bring on the show Nick Sciria, who is a writer for BBallBreakdown and Nylon Calculus. And it was funny because, Nick, we were talking about a play on Twitter. We're always kind of talking about stuff and different plays we've seen that we like. And we happened to, I don't know if we stumbled across this set, but what made you respond to this thing that I guess we're calling Spain pick and roll?
Yeah, so we've talked about how certain teams are trying to counteract ice, and the first thing that we saw was instead of just popping the big man after he screens, you kind of set a little screen for him as well. So now we're seeing it, as you talked about, we can see it on all parts of the court, not just at the top of the key.
Yeah. So, the initial thing that I noticed that you had sent over that I forgot and I tweeted was a Detroit Pistons one where, as I recall, it became a pin down. So let's just set up the whole play. We're going to show you some clips as well. But basically, the ball screen comes, and then there's a third guy who's setting a back screen on the ball screener's man. And it basically gets three guys sort of bunched up together. But I think the variations you can have off of this, it doesn't even matter if you ice it. I think you're going to force a closeout no matter what. And it gets very problematic for the defense. So as we're walking through this and we're looking at a ton of these clips, what do you think? What's the most common shot that you've seen that teams are getting out of this action?
I would say they're either getting a top of the arc three ball or from the wing, and they're also getting a lot of layups from it, especially from what we see from the Wizards, where a shooting guard like Brad Beal will set a screen on a guy like Gortat's man after he ball screens, and we'll have a layup because it's so hard for the defense to kind of communicate, and guards aren't really used to being help defenders, so I think that's why you see all of these wall layups and layups for a lot of other guys too.
For sure. And the common thing I've seen is like the point guard, if it's a Wall or a Russell Westbrook, that kind of guy, they push hard. It looks like they can get to the rim because, the help defense is supposed to be the ball screener's man. He's dropping, he's trying to contain, and they almost never call out that screen on him. He almost seems blindsided every time. Yeah. And so then that forces the switch. And again, if it's a guard who is now having to switch, he's certainly used to guarding a penetrating point guard, but not when he's bearing down on him with a full head of steam. And that seems to be the most common way we're seeing teams try to defend this, is as they keep switching down the line. Yeah. And I think what I've seen there is now the roll man becomes very viable because you have a problem. He's either going to roll the basket alongside the point guard attacking, almost in a traditional pick and roll, right? Mm-hmm. Just with an extra space of the back screen. Yeah. And if they try and contain that, that's what you said, the three-pointer becomes available. So what would you do, you think, to try and defend this thing?
Well, I think communication, like you said, is key. A lot of the times that big man is blindsided, and someone needs to call out. All five guys need to be aware of what's happening and call that out, so that the big can talk it out with the guard who's trying to help as well.
Yeah, I think the key here would be that the guy who's defending the ball screener can't get screened on that back screen. He needs to know it's coming and needs to be able to step around or whatever he needs to do to get around. That would probably go a long way. I did see the Celtics look like they were very prepared against the Wizards for it, but they brought Crowder all the way over the court to rotate onto the guy popping out for the three. And the mistake, not the mistake, but the issue there is that it's an easy little skip pass to his man in the corner, and I don't think there's anybody within 20 feet of him to get a shot that they hit. But either way, it's a real conundrum. So I was trying to get out of the box and think of like other ways you can kind of tweak this, because we've now seen, basically the back screen for the roll man who can get open, and then the back screener can pop out. And then I was thinking, well, you could invert that and have the roll man, as he is coming down after the ball screen, he can just stop and then set a pin down for the guard to come right out instead. And basically, then he can roll to the basket and slip that. I think, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that would be really effective. One way that the Jazz kind of ran it, where we had Rodney Hood screening the help defense, but the thing that he did was immediately pop out to the three-point line. So you had Alan Crabb defending, and now Alan Crabb has to make a decision. Is he going to help on the ball handler who's driving downhill, or is he going to get back out to Rodney Hood for the three? And the spacing was so nice on the weak side that there wasn't a guy on the weak side wing, so it wasn't like anyone could rotate over to Rodney Hood. And Crabb decided to stop the ball handler, and they kicked it out to Hood for three.
For sure. And then what we also saw was a sideline screen and roll, and it became a flare screen. So as they're icing it, like we mentioned in the very beginning, and the big man drops down, now if they try and switch that, there is a flare screener coming across to basically chop block him or whatever to get him out of the way. And that also created open shots from the perimeter, which is a nice kind of idea, because generally the pick and roll, is designed to attack the basket. And now you can collapse the defense, get that three-point shot. And also now what I like about it is you can now force the rotations, force closeouts. And even if you don't get a shot within the first one or two passes, now you have the defense on their heels, sprinting, trying to recover. And I think that goes a long way toward getting a good shot, as opposed to a traditional pick and roll that if it's contained initially on the high pick and roll, then there's no flow, there's no attack. You have to kind of set it up again. I mean, how many teams are we seeing running it now? Do we get a full tally here?
I've seen about 7 or 8 teams. I haven't gone through every team yet. But I would say about half of the teams I've been able to find at least a few clips from.
Absolutely. And we're going to keep going farther, and I'm sure we'll find another 3 or 4 at least. And we all know that everyone copycats, and so we'll probably see other teams adding it as they're realizing how good it is. Certainly for Houston, it's been a real weapon for them, and it's been exciting to watch a guy like Harden, who can already control the entire offense by himself, get actions like this. So I'm sure we're going to see guys, as they're trying to figure out how to defend it, they're going to be like, oh, that's a good idea, we should run that.
Yeah, and we were talking about how we hope to see the Warriors run it soon, because they just have so many dynamic playmakers who could really make this action be effective.
Great point. And especially because you can interchange these positions so easily, where you don't need to have your point guard handling the ball. You can have your 2 guard, and then you can have, like KD could be the guy back screening the ball screener, and Clay could be screening for Steph, and interchange that all around. Each of those guys can shoot. Each of those guys can get to the basket a little bit, or a lot. I think it would be really viable for them, and there's no telling. I mean, there's got to be, I would say, another 6 teams that would really benefit from it as well.
Right, and I think the thing with the Warriors is, because all of them can shoot, they can do exactly what Rodney Hood did, where they screen and then they pop out immediately, and they'll have themselves a wide open shot.
For sure. Well, we'll have to keep our eye on it and see if it happens. Yep. And again, Nick, I can't thank you for coming on the show. Can't thank you enough for coming on the show and joining us and giving us all your insights. And I can't wait to see what's up next for B-Ball Breakdown.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
You got it. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Nick?
I'm in.